Imagine, you're there, meeting a woman, building a connection, and unknowingly you say something that makes her interest in you plummet in an instant. And what's worse, most guys do it without even noticing. If in parts 1 and 2 I showed you things you should never say to a woman, now it's time for part 3, with 5 more things you must avoid at all costs. Because if you say them, you can be sure she'll lose attraction to you. So stick with me until the end, because this knowledge can save your game. And of course, subscribe and leave a like to keep receiving this kind of content. Let's start here. I know there are exactly the right moments to ask this, but not the way most guys do. The first thing you should never say to a woman is simply, "What are you doing?" Well, man, I know. This question may seem harmless. It may even seem like a natural way to start a conversation. But what many guys don't realize is that this simple sentence says a lot about your behavior, mindset, and even value. Let's think about it. When you ask this, what are you really communicating? That your focus is entirely on her, that your attention, your energy, your time, everything revolves around her, that instead of living your own life, you're there, waiting to find out what she's doing. And now let's be honest. Does a guy who has options, who is confident, independent, feel the need to ask this question? Does he feel the need to stop, open his phone, and type this message? No, man. Do you know why? Because he's busy living his own life. Meanwhile, the average guy, the one who doesn't understand how the dynamics of attraction work, is too worried about what she's doing instead of being in his own world. And here is the main point. This question places you in her world instead of attracting her into your world. And that, my friend, is a fatal mistake. A woman wants a guy with an interesting life, with a purpose, with energy that draws her into something bigger. Now, if you're a guy who's more interested in her world than your own, man, that's a bit complicated, right? Listen, I understand. If you're in a relationship, if you're already with her, asking about it from time to time is normal. It's part of the routine, the bond. But now, if you met a woman a few days ago or are just talking to her, asking this question is the worst thing you can do. Do you know why? Because it shows too much interest before the right time. It shows her that you have nothing better to do than worry about her day. And if there's one thing that destroys attraction, it's that. So understand this once and for all. If you have an interesting world, a strong purpose, a routine that keeps you busy, you don't need to ask what she's doing. Because if she really likes you, if she's interested, she'll want to be part of your world. Now, if you show her that your world revolves around her world, then, my friend, the game is already lost. The second thing you can't say to a woman is, "How was your day?" Well, I know what you might be thinking now. Enrique, have you completely lost it? Isn't it just a polite question? Yes, I understand. It seems like a normal, harmless question. But when you look at it from the other side, it's one of those questions that seem to show interest, but in reality, can destroy your attraction before you even realize it. And I'll explain to you exactly why. When a man asks this question many times, he's actually seeking emotional security. It's an unconscious test to make sure she's still interested in him. But man, this behavior shows emotional dependency and a lack of confidence. Let's think. Does a guy who knows his worth, who is busy living his own life, who has options, feel the need to ask this question every day? No, man, he doesn't. Because this guy doesn't need her approval to feel secure. Now the mistake here is just one, believing that more communication means more desire. But the truth is, desire comes from effort and mystery. If you're always there, always available, always asking how she is, you become predictable. And what happens when you become predictable? You stop being a challenge. And if there's something that keeps a woman interested, it's a challenge. Women are attracted to men who make them feel strong emotions, not to guys who behave like overly caring friends. If you want to stand out, you can't be like other guys. And I ask you, what's the difference between you and her friend if you behave the same way? That's why the secret here, which I always repeat to those who follow the channel, is one. Be a high-value guy. A guy who has his own routine, his interests, his goals, his spiritual development. And not a guy who feels the need to constantly check if she likes him or not. Man, the big truth is this. The only person who might like you more than you like yourself are your parents. The rest of the world will like those who provide value. So if you want the best for your life, you have to become the best. You can't want the best if you're not growing, if you're always worrying about what you can't control. And here's a historical sentence that fits perfectly here. I will not worry about what I can't control. I will only deal with what I can control. And now, I want you to comment on this sentence below. Write in the comments. I will not worry about what I can't control. I will only deal with what I can control. It shows that you're committed to your development. It shows that you're here to become a better person every day. So comment, because I'll like your comment, I'll reply to you, and your commenting here is an honor for me. Your opinion is part of this channel. Agreed? Now, before we go further, I want to introduce you to the greatest opportunity, the skill you urgently need to master. Otherwise, you'll miss out on opportunities that arise with women. And well, I know that when you're walking down the street or entering a supermarket, pharmacy, gym, or mall, you exchange glances with one or several women who spark desire in you. And you feel that urge to approach but don't know how and feel embarrassed, right? But, my friend, here's the solution I've prepared for you. Imagine having an ebook that teaches you this, in a natural and pressure-free way. In this book, you'll learn to approach women with confidence and know exactly what to say. And of course, with ease and naturalness. You'll learn how to make her feel comfortable, create natural attraction, intimacy, and most importantly, spark her desire in a short amount of time. What previously seemed impossible now becomes entirely possible. In just 60 minutes or even less, you can go from 0 to a kiss, or even more with a woman, using the valuable content you'll find in the ebook I've created for you. You'll never miss those chances with women who interest you again. And one more thing. Once acquired, this wisdom will be yours forever. It will stay in your mind, becoming part of who you are. In your place, I wouldn't waste this opportunity. The ebook is pinned in the comments, just waiting for you. Don't miss this chance, because it may not be available for a long time, as I've already mentioned. Take advantage of it, because now is the time for you to achieve positive results with women. So seize this chance before it's too late, and you need to urgently get ahead of the competition. And with this ebook, success with women is guaranteed for you, so don't waste time. And now, back to the content. The third thing you can't say to a woman is simply, "What are your plans for the weekend?" This question has a serious problem. It demonstrates a lack of confidence, and I'll explain exactly why. When a man asks this to a woman, he's essentially trying to find out if she has time for him. And man, this puts you in a position of submission, because deep down, you're making it clear that she's the one who decides if you'll be part of her plans or not. And here's the mistake. A high-value guy never does that. A guy who has options, confidence, who knows what he wants, doesn't wait to see if there's room in her schedule. He looks at his own schedule and decides if he has time to meet her. And now, my friend, here's the point that no one tells you. If a woman really likes you, it doesn't matter what her plans are. She will want to see you, in any case. So when you ask her that, you're essentially suggesting that you're waiting for a spot in her life. And then, my friend, you already know, it doesn't generate attraction. It makes you look like a needy guy, without options, without leadership. And now think with me. Who is the guy that women really desire? A guy who waits to see if there's room in her time, or a guy who takes control of his own life, has plans and invites her to be a part of them? So pay attention. You shouldn't ask, "What are your plans for the weekend?" You should say something like, "Well, I'm thinking of visiting a new restaurant on Saturday. If you'd like, come with me." Or, "I'm going to the beach this weekend to relax a bit. You can join if you want." Do you see the huge difference between these two approaches? In the first case, you're waiting for her. In the second, you already have a plan and simply invite. Let me share a secret of guys who have truly mastered this art. When you become a high-value guy, when you have an interesting life, a purpose-filled routine, women want to be part of your world. They want to be in your schedule. not the other way around. So be a leader. Be a guy who has attitude. Be a man who proposes plans, not a guy who waits to be included in her plans. And in fourth place, man, I miss you. Now you've touched on a very important point. And of course, I've lived through those moments, right? Let me tell you a short story. When I started dating my first girlfriend, we were together for 8 months. Man, I was very young, still a teenager, and of course, I was an inexperienced guy. I liked her a lot, and the problem was that she was the only girl in my life. That is, I was a guy with a scarcity mindset. I had no options, and this caused me to become emotionally too attached to her. At first, everything seemed perfect, but over time, she changed towards me. And yes, I missed her, of course. I was in a steady relationship, so it made sense. But look, if you say I miss you to a woman you're not in a committed relationship with, my friend, you're making a serious mistake. A really serious one. And I'll explain why. When a guy says this sentence too early without any certain relationship with the woman, what does it convey? Emotional dependency. It shows that he needs her to feel good, that she has emotional power over him. And then, my friend, it kills attraction in the blink of an eye. Do you think she's going to look at that sentence and think, wow, he misses me, I need to pay him more attention? Of course not. What really happens is that the woman notices you're needy, that you depend on her approval to feel good. And worse, some women might use this against you. I've already talked about it. There are women who love to play games. And if you notice she's playing, turn off the game and move on. It's that simple. Now think. You're talking to a woman for a few weeks or months, and she starts ignoring you or responding less. What does a high-value guy do? He moves on with his life. What does a needy guy do? He sends "I miss you," hoping she'll be touched. And then, my friend, it's over. Because look, if she really likes you, she'll naturally miss you. You don't need to tell her that. You don't need to beg for her attention. And there's the difference between a high-value man and a guy who lives in scarcity. A high-value guy lives his life, takes care of his business, trains, develops himself. He doesn't beg for attention because he doesn't need it. He has options. He has a bigger purpose. Now listen to what I'm going to tell you. True strength lies in becoming the type of man who doesn't need a woman to feel complete. You can want a woman in your life, but you can't rely on her emotionally. And that's the difference between those who attract women naturally and those who are always chasing after them. So, my friend, let me give you a golden piece of advice. Stop saying "I miss you" to a woman who isn't even your girlfriend. Stop giving her that power. Be the guy who makes her miss you, not the other way around. And now, if this content made sense to you, if it opened your eyes to a mistake you might have already made, comment below. I want part 4. Comment on it, because I might bring this 4th part if you accept it. And of course, leave your like, download your ebook to learn more about becoming a high-value man, and subscribe to the channel because, my friend, you'll only gain here. And finally, the last thing you should never say to a woman, "You're beautiful, perfect, wonderful." My friend, pay attention, because this might be destroying your attraction even if you don't notice it. We're all human, right? No one is perfect. You're not perfect, I'm not perfect, and she's not perfect either. The only perfection that exists, in my opinion, comes from God. But when a guy constantly tells a woman that she's perfect, that she's the most beautiful in the world, that he's never seen anyone like her, he's making a serious mistake. And I'll explain why. When you do this, what are you doing? You're putting her on a pedestal. And when a woman notices that you see her as something unattainable, above yourself, she loses interest. Because, my friend, a woman needs to look at you and think, "This guy is the prize. He has value." Now, if you place yourself below her, as if you're asking for permission to be in her life, you're done. You've already lost. And another thing, beautiful women are already used to hearing this all the time. Do you think you're unique by telling her she's beautiful? You're not. Every day there are tons of guys in her DM saying exactly the same thing. You need to stand out, not be one of many. You don't have to suck up. You have to show that you have purpose, values, principles, and your own life. that generates attraction. Pay attention to this. What impresses a woman is not a guy desperately trying to please, but a guy who knows his own worth. A guy who doesn't need to constantly affirm her value because he's already busy being great in his own life. And look, that doesn't mean you can't compliment a woman. But when you do, it must be authentic, natural, not something exaggerated and desperate. Now, open your eyes. If you're constantly telling this beautiful woman that she's perfect, but you never manage to really be with her, something is wrong. And I'll tell you what it is. You're not acting like a man of value, but like an ordinary guy who puts her on a pedestal. And a woman doesn't fall in love with someone who treats her like a goddess, but with someone who treats her like a real woman, who also needs to earn his respect. So if you really want to stand out and attract high-level women, stop acting like a fan and start acting like a guy who knows his own worth. And now, if this content opened your mind, if it made you notice mistakes you might not have known you were making, leave your like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and download your ebook, because there's much more knowledge there on how to be the guy women desire.